Julie Wood, Program Manager of the Volunteer Monthly Monitoring Program at Charles River Watershed Association. And I'm Elise Leduc, the Volunteer Coordinator. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this online refresher training. We also appreciate all the time you dedicate to this program in general. The early mornings, the cold mornings, the dark mornings, we really couldn't do it without you.
The Charles River is 80 miles long and has a watershed area of approximately 300 square miles. The Volunteer Monthly Monitoring Program is now in its 17th year and is one of the oldest and largest volunteer sampling programs in the country. Once a month, more than 70 volunteers gather at 35 sites along the Charles River to collect water samples, measure depth and temperature, and record river conditions. All sites sample for E. coli, a type of bacteria, every month, and 12 sites, indicated by the green triangles on the map, sample quarterly for other parameters such as total suspended solids, chlorophyll A, and various nutrient parameters. This wide distribution of sites and this variety of parameters gives us a comprehensive water quality picture at each event. The data collected by this program is used to identify problems in the river and trends in water quality, and to track the progress of efforts to clean up the Charles. As a final piece of introduction, I'd like to review the schedule for Sampling Day reminders. About 2 weeks after the previous sampling event, I will send the results in a summary letter to all volunteers. This will also serve as the first reminder of the upcoming sampling. At this point, if you know you cannot sample, please let me know as soon as possible. Then, the Thursday before sampling, I will send out a specific reminder email asking if you are available for sampling the following Tuesday. If not, please respond as soon as possible, because on Friday, I will be assigning regional sampling volunteers based on known vacancies.
The rest of this video will go through the steps and procedures for taking water samples, in the order in which they should be done the morning of sampling. The rest of the video will take approximately 11 minutes, and when you're finished, you can either go back and review any part of the video that you'd like to see again, or you can go directly to taking the online refresher evaluation. Thank you very much, and have fun!
This section will review sampling preparation and things to remember before sampling day. Before the morning of sampling, please get in contact with your sampling partner and verify arrangements for exactly where and when to meet. You'll also want to make sure you prepare ice so it will be ready to go the following morning. It's also a good idea to locate all your sampling bottles well ahead of time. This way you can request more bottles if they're missing, or fix the label with a permanent marker if the site ID or date are starting to wear off. Finally, it's a good idea to locate and gather all of your sampling equipment the night before to ensure you don't forget any important equipment the morning of sampling. The following section will review important safety information. To ensure that you are visible to cars, it's important to wear light-colored or reflective clothing. CRWA can provide you with a reflective vest if you want. If you must cross a road, be sure to look both ways before crossing. Additionally, if you are working in a high-traffic area with little or no shoulder or sidewalk, you may want to consider setting up a traffic cone 20 to 50 feet from where you will be sampling. When carrying the sampling equipment, hold it by the actual basket, not the rope. For the sampling pole, it should be carried unextended, and you should be aware of your surroundings before extending the pole at your sampling site. Make sure you won't hit passing cars, your sampling partner, or any low-hanging branches or power lines. Finally, although sampling can proceed in rain or snow, you should never sample if you hear thunder or observe lightning. This section will go over the basic steps for collecting water samples. When arriving at your site, the first thing you should do is put on a pair of nitrile gloves. Also, you can record the date, the weather, and any field comments in your field notebook before you start. To begin sampling, you'll need to rinse the sampling device in the water 3 times. Before lowering the basket, however, make sure either your partner is holding on to the other end of the rope or you're stepping on it. Also, scan both up and downstream to make sure you will not lower the sampling device onto any boaters, rowers, or wildlife. Lower the basket, making sure not to hit any part of the bridge on the way down, and submerge it 3 times, so that the orange cuffs are 6 to 10 inches under the surface. You should be able to do this without getting the cloth rope wet. Once rinsed, carefully raise the basket back to the top of the bridge, avoiding contact with the bridge and the loose rope, and place it on a sturdy surface. Place your sampling bottle with the cap still on in one of the orange cups and securely tighten it. Only after the bottle is secure should you remove the lid and hand it to your sampling partner to hold. Please note your sampling partner should also be wearing nitrile gloves. Then carefully lower the sampling basket to the water and gently plunge the sampling device into the river so that the top of the sampling bottle is approximately 6 inches below the surface. Keep the bottle below the surface long enough for it to fill. When the bubbles stop, that's a good indicator of when the bottle is full. Then, carefully raise the basket back to the top of the bridge and again set it on a stable surface. Check that the bottle is at least 3/4 of the way full. If not, you'll have to discard this sample bottle. If you have a spare bottle, you can sample again. Also, please note that any floating debris is a natural part of the sample and you should not attempt to remove it. Then, without touching the rim of the bottle or the inside of the lid, securely cap the bottle, remove it from the basket, and immediately put the sample on ice. Finally, note the exact time of sample collection and record this information in your field notebook. This section will review important sampling order information for when you need to take field duplicates. When you are asked to take a field duplicate for your bacteria sample, you will have to lower your basket twice, the first time for your regular sample and the second time for your field duplicate bottle. A regular sample and its field duplicate should never be taken together. If you are asked to take a field duplicate when you are also sampling for nutrients, you will have 4 bottles in total. To sample, you can load the regular bacteria bottle and the regular nutrient bottle into the same basket, take those samples together, and then load both field duplicates together for the second deployment of the basket. Please note, you do not have to rinse the basket 3 times between these 2 steps. Finally, as with the bacteria samples, the regular nutrient sample and its field duplicate should never be taken together. The following section will review procedures for measuring temperature. Using the same methods you use to collect your water sample, load the temperature cup into the sampling device, lower it into the river, and fill the cup with water. Because the temperature cup is not sterile, if you make a mistake and the bottle does not fill entirely the first time, simply dump out the water and repeat the steps to fill the cup with water. Remove the digital thermometer from the protective casing and hit the power button to turn it on. Make sure the thermometer is measuring in Celsius. If not, press the CF button on the back to change the display. Place the thermometer in the cup approximately halfway without touching the probe to the sides or the bottom of the cup. Wait until the temperature stabilizes and then record the digital reading in your field notebook. When finished, turn off the thermometer, wipe it dry, and return it to its protective case. While there are a few methods for measuring depth outlined in the training manual, this section will review just one of those methods. Depth measurements should be taken as close to the center of the river as possible, away from abutments and other obstructions to flow. Once a depth measuring location has been chosen for your site, be sure you and your partner are sampling at the exact same location each time. This procedure for estimating water depth uses clips to mark the appropriate distances on a rope. To begin, lower the weight into the water. As soon as you feel it hit the bottom, raise the line slightly and gently tap it on the bottom a couple of times to ensure you are not on a rock or other submerged object. Then, while holding the line taut with the weight on the bottom, use a clip to mark the depth line at the point parallel to the top of the bridge or railing or other fixed point. Next, raise the line until the weight is just at the surface of the water, and attach a second clip onto the depth line at the point now parallel to the top of the bridge railing. You can now pull up the entire rope and simply measure the distance between these 2 clips to the nearest inch to get the approximate water depth. Once you have taken this measurement, you can record the depth in feet and inches in your field notebook. The following section will review how to fill out a data sheet correctly. When filling out your data sheet, make sure you are using the most up-to-date version, which can be found on the monthly monitoring webpage, and that you fill it out completely. This involves recording your site number, the name of your location, and the date of the event. For the time of sample collection, record the time you actually took the sample. If you're filling out the data sheet later at the drop-off site, this information should already be recorded in your field notebook. Note the weather and record the names of all volunteers sampling at your site that morning. Make sure you also check the appropriate box indicating whether or not a field duplicate was taken. Also, please note that the new version of the datasheet has a place to mark the sampling collection method. Check the box indicating how your samples were taken. Record the temperature in degrees Celsius. If you're using a digital thermometer, record the temperature in tenths of degrees as displayed on the thermometer itself. For depth, if you've used the 3-step worksheet, please also be sure to record the final depth measurement in the appropriate space above, and note the location along the bridge or shore where your depth measurement was taken. Please note, if you measure depth the way we've shown you in the video, you'll only need to record the final measurement. Finally, at the bottom, please feel free to note any field comments or observations and any equipment needs you may have. Finally, this last section will review important things to remember when at the drop-off site. When you arrive at the drop-off site, make sure you have transferred all of the important information from your field notebook to your datasheet. You can then turn in your datasheet and all the water samples you collected to the drop-off site coordinator. Next, be sure to fill out the chain of custody form completely. This includes noting your site number, the date, the time you took your sample, not the time you're filling out the form, how many bottles you turned in, and whether or not you preserved the sample on ice. Lastly, make sure you sign your chain of custody form entry. These are essential for tracking each sample from collection point through all exchanges to its final destination at the lab. Before you go, remember to take extra data sheets and gloves if you need them, as well as your sampling bottles for next month. Thank you very much for watching the Volunteer Monthly Monitoring online training video. We greatly appreciate both your commitment to sampling in the field, as well as keeping up to date on methods and procedures for proper sample collection. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at eleduc@crwa.org or call 781-788-0007, extension 228. At this point, please take some time to review the updated 2012 training manual if you haven't already, and then complete the short online training refresher evaluation, which is linked from this webpage.